Welcome to this edition of When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine, a discussion of sustainable living and what that means to you and me. Coming to you from WOUB Radio, Studio B, I am Jay Warmke.
I'm Annie Warmke.
Annie Warmke, yes. And today, no reflection on you. We're going to be speaking about artificial intelligence. Or
is that already going to be
or finally some sort of intelligence is going to be in charge. So that's my secondary title here.
In charge of what?
In charge of everything.
Hey,
so
don't be insulting me.
Okay, so this is sort of my latest fixation here. And I know I've been boring you to tears, Annie, with all of this speculation about artificial intelligence and what that's going to mean to our society
I
and
just
to
want
the
to
world.
say it's been in the car when we're driving. It's when I get up in the morning first thing. It's before I go to bed at night and at lunch.
Well, and it's interesting because I know you're saying this like it's a bad thing, but
no, I'm making a joke.
I know.
I'm paying you back.
But think about this: that if somebody were to tell you that an alien species was about to land on planet Earth and was going to take over, and it was going to happen in 10 years, and you get this message and it says, be prepared, we should talk about it. That's exactly what's happening here.
I've been talking about it. I said if they landed down in the holler,
you
I'd
would
invite them for tea.
Yeah, well, and so anyway, so let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. This is one of those terms, one of those subjects that's sort of bursting out, at least in my consciousness. Some of you guys may have been thinking about this for a while, but others haven't really given it a thought.
Why is it called artificial? Because it seems pretty real.
It's non-human. That'd be a better non-human or machine intelligence.
Yeah, we might be moving into that anyway.
So if we look at some of the history of AI, it's not necessarily a brand new thing, but like any of these technologies, it's growing at an exponential rate. So it's accelerating. So
is that what exponential means?
Exponential is like 10 times. It's doubling every year kind of thing. So if it's 2, then it's 4, then it's 8, then it's 16.
So something multiplies its
exponential at an exponential rate. So the first sort of example, when you look at the history of AI, 1950, Turing, I forget his first name, but he created what was called the Turing test, where he said that at some point machines will reach a point where we cannot differentiate them from humans. So that was sort of the first time that was expressed. And about the same time, Isaac Asimov was defining his 3 rules of robotics, if you're into science fiction. So it was that kind of time where everybody's starting to talk about things, machines becoming closer to human behavior.
But in 1984, the book 1984, weren't machines in charge?
No, that was Big Brother, but that was a whole different focus. All right, so then in 1955, the first self-learning program was developed to play games. I'm not sure which game, probably checkers. That would be my guess. 1964, no, chess is too complicated. 1964, the first program that understood language came about. So these are basically 14 years from the time Turing said we should start thinking of machines as human-like. Now they're starting to understand language. 65, the first chat bot was developed named Eliza. Then in 1997, so there's a pretty big jump there. That's when Deep Blue beat chess. It beat Kasparov, I think, the reigning chess champion, and Deep Blue, I think, was IBM. Then the first emotional MI, the first or AI was developed.
That's male
MIT. Yeah, that's not
that
so.
Was the first one
not
in
so emotional.
Yeah.
No, it was developed by MIT.
Oh,
MIT.
Okay.
And so now we're starting to feed emotion into this, obviously simulated emotion. Then in 2009, Google came out with the first self-driving vehicle, which incorporated AI. Then, of course, 2011, who will ever forget when Watson won Jeopardy?
I think it's good not to watch TV because I had no idea.
And then that same year, we started seeing things in households like Siri and Hey Google,
the whole
Google. Oh, our phone just went off. We shouldn't say that. All right. So then we start seeing like 2016, and a lot of the people in the industry start to say or consider this quite a monument in the AI world when DeepMind beat the world champion in Go, and Go is a game played primarily in the Orient, but it's very complicated. So that was a huge deal. Then we started in 2018 seeing ChatGPT, and this was a program that was introduced by OpenAI. And ChatGPT, introduced in 2018, had a guess, and I was listening to a podcast about this. Had like the social equivalent of maybe a toddler. Could understand a little bit of language, could mimic things back, but wasn't
Just
very
like
good.
going to the grocery store.
Yeah, like humans, adults now.
That's the way it is
Then
now.
2019, ChatGPT GPT-2 came out, a little bit more advanced, maybe 8
Well,
years
it's
old.
exponential. It's
There you go.
growing. It's gaining knowledge and it's doubling.
2020,
Yeah.
GPT, I always want to say GBT, 3 came
Right.
out, more intelligent, about the equivalent of, say, a 12-year-old. And then 2023, this is the Chat GPT-4, and this thing was like an adult. And in fact, they've tested it using IQ tests, and they tested in at around 150 IQ. Now, obviously,
Well,
intelligence
just
is
to say
different things.
150 is super intelligent
Super
because
smart.
average IQ is about
100.
110.
No, 100.
Oh, I thought it was 100.
By
Okay.
definition, it's
Okay.
100. So then, this is like the smartest person you've ever met. But obviously, there are different forms of intelligence, emotional
Obviously.
intelligence, and things like that. The
Obviously.
ability to take a test,
The ability to have common sense.
the ability to mimic things back. So,
We got a list
so
from
anyway,
true life.
yeah. But what they've seen, and of course, this Chat GPT was adopted very, very rapidly in the first few months. They had about, I think it was 180 million people download it.
Subscribers. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Very quickly, very quickly. So when we start seeing this evolution, and another thing to sort of factor in there between these iterations, and I'm mentioning Chat GPT, but there are forever, a lot of different programs, a lot of
Well, I
different
was just going to
systems.
say that you can look at the sequence of this in terms of the story of AI, and you can see when I believe when people got serious that it was a possible, not that it wasn't a possibility. I think a lot of people, science fiction writers, believed it was possible, but suddenly at some point it became real.
Check.
And so money started pouring in, and when you think about all the things going on in the world, but the money that has gone into the race to be the first one to have control of this as an industry is unbelievable.
Well, and a lot of the people involved in AI development, the techno geeks, they're sitting here and going, wait a second, like what Frankenstein monster did we just
Them
create?
drawing back, these are the geek people who don't often let the psychology or the emotion into their work, and they're drawing back going, what in the heck, this is freaking me out.
Right. I saw a statistic. It was, and I'm gonna butcher it a little bit, but it's close. It said, like, when you talk to the people who are developing AI, it's like 50% of them feel there is at least a 10% chance AI will destroy humanity, and they're going. Yeah, I mean, that's significant. That's the analogy that's often used is, would you get on an airplane if half the people who built that airplane think it's going to crash, that there's a 10% chance every time you get on it's going to crash? So they're all going, wait a second, we need to handle this. Well, for one thing, for sure, don't connect it to the internet. So what's happened? Everybody's connected it to the internet.
Where the money is, and if people aren't using it, then it's not going to work. The other problem that I see from the get-go is that everybody's asking one question, a lot of other questions, but there's singularly this one question, and that is, how do we control this? How do we make
Right.
it do good versus the evil that it's capable of in a nanosecond?
Right. Well, the second half of this, I think we'll sort of talk in those more futuristic where's it going to go, but I wanted to kind of focus on where it is right now, because this growth of artificial intelligence started slowly, takes decades, then all of a sudden we've hit this acceleration
Boom,
point.
boom, boom.
And with chat GPT-4, we kind of this year 2023, that's when it hit sort of consciousness, where every school kid can type in, give me a 300 word essay on Lincoln's Gettysburg Address from the standpoint of the South, or whatever. And you can just put that in and it spits it out in 5 seconds.
Well, the other thing I want to say is that I believe, at least for people like us who look at megatrends and try to think about how this influences living more sustainably, is that I know in the winter, I started saying we need to really look at this AI thing and understand how it's going to impact our business as a sustainable farm and solar energy, and then also how it's going to influence our intellectual material and how we might try to I don't think we can control it, but I think we can do some things. Like, for one thing, I think join a union. I don't want to get
All
off
right.
on that, but I'm just going to say that suddenly for us, it kind of drove home at the beginning of 2023 when these changes were so obvious that it was really accelerating. We got to think about this.
I think every business and every person needs to make those decisions. How do I change my behavior now that this is a thing? This is a real thing. So some of the things that I found this interesting video on YouTube. It's like a weekly thing about this week in AI. And so I just wanted to highlight from this week in AI just how rapidly these things are going. First off, Microsoft just announced this new thing called Copilot, and they've integrated. In fact, I turned on the machine this morning to use the Edge, the browser, and it brings up, you're now working with Copilot, and I was like, oh, I don't want to, but I don't have a choice. But Copilot is basically an AI assistant that they have now integrated into every single Microsoft program, their browser, their search engine, all of the 365, Word, PowerPoint, all of those programs. And this thing is just, it'll blow your mind. I mean,
Well, one thing I would like to point out is that you don't have to use Edge.
I know I don't,
There are
but they're
other,
all doing it. They're all
well,
racing
nothing
to
on
do
mine
this.
yet has said
Uh,
on Mozilla or Google has said you're
they
now
will,
co-piloted by some
they will
machine.
all
Well,
do
I'm
it.
not saying they won't, but I'm just saying you at
All
least
right.
could make a voice
Well,
to
let me
opt
run
out.
through these other things because the
All right.
list, and again, I just want to stress this is in 1 week. So Microsoft doing big. Anthropic is coming out. This is a company with its AI called Claude. Who knows what? But $5 billion being invested from Google into this thing, $4 billion being invested from Amazon.
Well, when you got a lot of
So
cash laying around
they're
from
dumping
making
it
all
all in.
that money, you're going to dump it where they're going to make more.
OpenAI announced they're the ones who developed ChatGPT, that they're forming a team to look at all of the existential risks against chemical warfare, biological warfare, cybersecurity that AI will cause to our society. So they're the ones who started this whole recent thing, and they're going, whoa, baby, we need to look at how this thing may destroy us.
Well, the other piece of that is that in looking at how it could do that, it's also going to help AI to figure better ways it could do that. When
Well,
you're delving into it, I found that when I worked with the men who abused and they get court ordered and then they learn about all the things they're supposed to be doing versus their abuse,
and
and
how
then they
not to get
just
caught.
got better.
Yeah, and Google Maps announced that they're now going into full immersion 3D, and it's based on artificial intelligence. So it's not like they're taking pictures in 3D; they're creating 3D models of the environment based on
Physical models or just on
so when
a
you go onto Google Maps, you can actually look and see the
Wow.
skyscrapers, and it's not just a cool experience. This is kind of getting into virtual reality, but I'm already seeing that now integrated into solar, where they're now able to see shading, they're able to see light resources on every single property, and all of that is being simulated through this 3D modeling, and they're putting in pollen counts. So basically, every single thing. Imagine if you're driving down the road and you can identify how much money every person in every building is making, or how many children they have.
I think they
Or
already know that.
they're integrating
But
all this data.
the other thing I would say is that there is good in this, but then
Okay.
there's really horror.
All right. Well, let's interrupt here for a second and remind everybody you are listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke, coming to you from Studio B, WOUB Radio in Athens, Ohio, and reminding you it is indeed the end of the world as we know it.
And thank God.
Thank God.
I
Okay.
think. I'm not sure after this show.
All right. So, okay. So I'm going to run through these real quick, so
All
don't
right.
interrupt.
All right. No interrupt.
So TikTok now has a creative assistant that will, when you make these stupid little TikTok videos, it'll look at what works, what doesn't work, and make sure that everybody is addicted to everything you do. There's a new award for art created by AI. So now we're going to have the Academy Awards
Now
for
they're telling
artificial
us what's
intelligence.
good and what isn't. Nice.
This is cool. Adobe just came out with this new tool called Dub, which you make a video and then it will automatically translate your video into different languages using your voice and lip movements.
I want to do that.
Okay,
I
well,
love the idea of that.
So suddenly I can speak, Mandarin or whatever. Then they're using it for finding supernovas and actually taking text and creating videos from the text. So you don't even have to shoot a video anymore. You just write, show me a bird flying into the side of a building, and boom, it creates a bird flying into the side of the building. And then you say, I want that bird to be wearing a sailor's outfit, and boom, the bird is wearing a sailor's outfit. And so any text will become video. So who needs to read? And then IBM created a new chip that makes all of these things happen 25 times faster.
Not if you live in rural America.
Well, this is a chip in product.
I don't care.
Okay, so that's just this week. And who knows what's going to happen next week. We're seeing these things evolve so rapidly. So what's the short-term problem?
Death of truth.
Death of truth.
Immediately.
Right. Well, just right off, I'm speaking Mandarin. I don't speak Mandarin, but it's me in my voice with my lip movement. You can't tell the difference.
I'm definitely going to do
that.
I know.
Or singing, you can.
Oh yeah.
You can do whatever. You can just make it do whatever you want it to do. So you don't even know anything you see visually, anything you hear visually. No way of knowing if it's true or not. So right away, now they're talking little games about we're going to give you the ability to essentially watermark these things, but anything you can do, you can fake.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's right.
So that's going to be so just
the
how
fake
quickly
police are going to have a big job, right?
Well, you're basically just going to have to only get information from trusted sources.
So I'm going to call up my friend Patty Cake and I'm going to say,
she won't know.
No. She does lots of research and she digs down really deep in these things. And I'm going to say, hey, I want to know about this. And she's going to say,
that's a problem.
I don't know.
Because
I can't figure it out.
I can use ChatGPT and I can use one of these AI models and say, hey, create 4,000 journal articles that look like they've been written by scientists that all show that the world is flat. And now, if you want to go out and do your own research, there are 4,000 articles that will back me up.
But I know the world's not flat.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to convince you.
I'm going to know it's not flat.
I know. Well, I've done my own research and I figured out I'm going to live forever because I've not died yet. So anyway,
don't make fun of me. I'm telling you, it's okay. But here's the thing. That question or that idea raises the idea is that we often know the truth, like it's not logical or it's immoral to our personal code, or we know that the earth is not flat, like you're saying. And so I think what will happen as we see with the Fox News crowd and a lot of the misinformation that's out there, like I didn't lose the election thing, when you did, is that it's going to be harder and harder to hold that truth in your head,
Right.
that um, that you know that's not true, and everybody, everything comes against you, and maybe even prejudice, maybe even loss of business
Mhm.
or your job, because you say it's not so.
Right. And it will reinforce what you already believe should be the truth. And that's a much stronger thing
Oh
than
yeah.
learning what is the truth.
Yes. Yes.
So if I see videos of somebody doing something that I believe they would have done, even though it's fake,
Oh yeah,
I'm
for
going
sure.
to believe that they did that. So,
Like if
and
I
this is
saw you
happening.
dancing a jig in the middle of the street
Speaking
with no
Mandarin,
clothes on,
speaking
singing
Mandarin.
in Mandarin, I
That's
would
right.
go, there's no way that that guy.
Oh, I thought you'd say, of course he did that.
No.
Okay. so, um, Okay, so this is happening. It's happening very quickly. We're already seeing that the intelligence quotient of these AIs. Let's say it's smarter than anyone you know. If it doubles next year, now it's twice as smart as anyone you know. Plus, it's processing information at about 1 million times faster than a human being can process, which would be the equivalent of, let's say, the smartest group of people you've ever met. You put them in a room and say, "Can you guys solve these problems?" And you come back a week later, for them, it's the equivalent of 2,000 years. So, what will they have come up with in 2,000 years when for you it's a week? So we're dealing with, even if they're not getting smarter, they're getting faster.
But what
Uh,
about if we could turn off all the energy sources? Would AI go away then?
no, because they're already. That was one of the things they said. Don't put them out there on the web because now they're basically a virus that's been turned loose. So AI can create its own energy sources. It can manipulate machines and the like. At the moment, though, we're talking about something that is just a series of a bunch of little programs. And it doesn't have motivation or instructions or
No, it's the
awareness.
instructor.
Yeah, so the danger I see is that these very powerful tools are going to be controlled by relatively stupid and definitely people that don't have my best interest at heart. Basically, Congress. No, they don't control
Well,
anything.
or people that, a lot of people that work in technology, and I'm going to, get pushback for this, but they're only using one side of their brain. This is the way,
Yeah.
like artists only generally use one side of their brain, and it's a different side. And so, where does the emotion, where does the psychology, where does the heart come into this that makes it um, uh, human in a way, because
Well,
that's where they're going. They
what
want the AI to be human. They want it to be able to have sex with you and
Well, okay,
pretend
you're
to be
jumping ahead, but what they're doing right now with AI and with everything is it's a race to get attention, power, and money,
right.
and that is how these people will control this technology, and that is this interim period that the danger lies, because those people can use these tools to do great harm,
Right.
intentionally or
Or
unintentionally.
to have the key to
So
getting in the
but
door.
as you mentioned or you intimated there, that with social media, it was basically a race to get attention. That's what people have
Like
utilized it
Facebook.
for. Facebook,
Hmm.
I want everybody. How many likes do I have? How many retweets
At
do I
my
have?
college,
Whatever.
it was very localized in a way.
So, but now this artificial intelligence, the consensus is, will be a race towards intimacy. We've just seen this with this assistant, this personal assistant Copilot. They market it as saying this Copilot will be your Copilot throughout your day. It'll remind you of meetings. It'll help you write memos. It'll do all of these things. So as these things get more and more um, refined and smarter, this personal assistant will wake you up in the morning. It will remind you of your thing. You will develop an emotional relationship with this assistant. It will be like every science fiction movie, good morning, this is, don't forget to brush
Go
your teeth,
away.
whatever.
So I just want to say that I think it's interesting from a marketing standpoint. They call it co-pilot. They don't call it your employee or your assistant. They
It's
used
your
to
friend.
say your assistant. No, it's not. It's your co-pilot, meaning I can take over anytime I want. I know all the things you know, and I might know more, but I haven't gotten the promotion yet to
Hmm.
be over you.
There you
I'm
go.
equal to you. And
Well,
it's psychology.
well, another
It's
thing to
scary.
consider is some of the projections basically say a child born today, very likely their first boyfriend or girlfriend will be artificial intelligence. They will develop a relationship with this AI entity, and that relationship is perfect. That AI can read your moods, can adjust itself to that behavior, can meet whatever emotional needs you have.
Can they help with the
Eventually,
frontal lobe development in males?
probably not. But so this brings up an interesting point in the couple of minutes we have left, that we've talked
Uh-huh.
about a little bit. Is it feels like in this generation there's been this race or struggle to identify people from the perspective of their sexual orientation. You know, we've
Oh,
seen this,
pronouns.
yeah, the pronouns, all of
Uh,
that kind of thing, and basically this generation has said sex is not a biological thing. Your sexual orientation is a psychological thing, and there are many permutations of this. And we are struggling to somehow communicate to ourselves and to others what that means. So they're trying to redefine what biological sex is to you or me.
yeah.
They're trying to struggle. So I would say the next step that's going to happen with the next generation is this struggle to determine what is a person. Because as this artificial intelligence develops and develops emotions and develops attachments, and people develop attachments to it, what does it mean to be a person? If I have this artificial intelligent assistant that I've lived with for 30 years, I am deeply in love with this thing. It's a disembodied voice, for instance. But when I die, I want to leave all my money to Greta, my
This is
biological
a mental
assistant.
health issue.
It's is to you and me, but it's going to be the reality.
Well, I know it's going to be the reality, and this is the sad part. And one of the things, there's just been a study released that showed that when they did this study with a lot of people, what was it they were looking for in terms of relationships, and sex or intimacy in that way was not the key thing. It was
Right.
80% said they wanted to learn how to have friendships, basically
Sure.
non conjugal friendships, and
Sure.
that's fascinating given all
Okay,
the
well, one
pressure.
last thing that I want to get because we've only got 30 seconds here, and I've
Okay.
got a list of 50 of these. But the last thing I want to say is this artificial intelligence, as it develops, its major threat will be other artificial intelligence, not humans.
War.
So will it cooperate or will it compete? However it does it, there's going to end up with just one. And that
That's
one
God.
is God. Yeah.
Yes.
It's basically this all seeing, all knowing, everywhere kind of entity. So we're
Yeah.
just saying that man has actually now created God.
Okay. Humankind will become domesticated,
Yeah. And that's what we're saying.
like puppies and kitties.
Because the big question is, will humans' self interest and AI's self interest coincide?
Coincide.
Or do they just not care? And will they
Who?
look at,
The
well, the
machine.
AI
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
they're
That's
because
right.
they're operating at a much higher level and a much faster level, and humans, my guess is they're going to domesticate humans. You know,
Well,
we've
it
been,
won't be. They will. We won't have a choice.
well, and humans have been feral for far too long, so maybe it's time.
More so now.
Maybe it's
At
time.
least the
So
old parts.
now the question is it a New Testament God or is it an Old Testament God? That's the big thing.
Oh my gosh.
All
That's
right.
for another show.
Well, you have been listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke. Coming to you from Studio B, WOUB Radio in Athens. We want to thank our always realistically intelligent producer, Adam Rich. And we want to thank you for spending just a little bit of time with us. And as your grandmother hopefully told you, the secret to a happy and sustainable life is,
Play nice with others, clean up your own mess, and eat your veggies.
all right, till next time. Bye bye.